From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. Foreign Affairs Minister Anand wants to shift Canada's focus in the Indo-Pacific toward emphasizing economic growth without dropping work to build defense ties and promote human rights. Anand was in Tokyo and Malaysia this week for her first visit to the region as foreign minister and says Ottawa will still push for human rights but put an emphasis on growing trade ties with Asian economies. She says that is particularly important in an era of economic shocks and uncertainties.
It is important for us to revisit our policy, not only in the Indo-Pacific, but generally speaking, to ensure that we are focusing not only on the values that we have historically adhered to.
Canada is in the middle of trade talks with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which could expand to a trade with countries like Singapore and Thailand. Economists expect the pace of inflation to pick up in June as the Bank of Canada looks for signs of tariff impacts on prices.
Statistics Canada is set to report inflation data for June on Tuesday. RBC projects annual inflation rose 2 ticks to 1.9% last month. Senior economist Claire Fan says she expects core inflation, which is closely watched by the Bank of Canada, to remain stubbornly high in the June report. She also says the central bank might be looking more at next week's Business Outlook survey and other alternative sources as it prepares for its next interest rate decision on July 30th. Michelle Zedikian, The Canadian Press.
Now back home, where the Ontario Provincial Police hosted a town hall in the small community of Quadville, west of Ottawa, in an effort to clear up confusion surrounding a frightening attack on a young girl. Now, investigators initially said the 8-year-old's injuries might have been caused by an animal, but days later, a 17-year-old boy was charged with attempted murder and sexual assault. Resident Sandy Musclo says even though residents didn't get as much information about the police investigation as they wanted, she was glad to see the community come together. Up next, a destructive invasive beetle had a run-in with a citizen scientist in Vancouver, marking its first discovery west of Manitoba here in Canada. Andrew Short makes a hobby of searching for insects and plants, but he didn't recognize the metallic green beetle that bumped into him while he was sitting on a bench in downtown Vancouver.
And then got home and did my evening activities, and then remembered I had this beetle, so I took it out and took some photos of it and proceeded to try and identify it with a few of my books that I've got, and then I went online and sent some photos to a friend of mine. All that we could come up with was something that shouldn't have been here.
Short sent a suspected invasive species report to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which confirmed it was an emerald ash borer, making it one of the first detections of the beetle in Western North America and sparking ongoing research into the infestation. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, wildfire smoke delayed a contest between the Calgary Stampeders and the hosting Saskatchewan Roughriders. Initially, it was put off for 45 minutes due to poor air quality, but ultimately it was postponed, and the new scheduled showdown will go Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Now over to the Diamond, where Max Scherzer struck out 8 batters and allowed 5 hits over 6 innings to win for the first time in nearly a year, as the Toronto Blue Jays scored 6 unearned runs in the 5th inning, beating the Athletics 7-6 Friday night. The AL East leading Blue Jays have now won 13 of their last 15 games. Meanwhile, Cal Raleigh hit his 37th and 38th home runs to move within one of Barry Bonds' 2001 record for homers before the All-Star break, after the visiting Seattle Mariners whipped the Detroit Tigers 12-3. And finally, the Vancouver Bandits posted an 89-85 victory over the Brampton Honey Badgers in Canadian Elite Basketball League play. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.